So for today, we're dealing with the top 10 musicians who went broke. For this list, we're talking about musical artists that made a huge sum of money only to lose all their hard-earned dollars. The artists in this list may have bounced back, but at some point during their careers, they went bankrupt or broke. Before we move on, I have a little challenge for you that'll take just about 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal, leave us a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and you'll get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it, it really works. Lauryn Hill. The peak of Lauryn Hill's career started in 1998. That was also the year that she released her influential debut solo album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. This record was a massive critical and commercial success, attaining Hill 5 Grammys, including Album of the Year. However, a band named New Ark sued Hill, and they asserted that Hill used their songs and production skills but failed to properly give recognition to their work. It would take years for the lawsuit to be finalized, and in the end, Hill was forced to pay New Ark around $5 million. In the years later on, Hill would unfortunately have to serve 3 months in prison for failing to pay her mounting tax bills.
You know, when I thought I was my most wise, really not wise at all. And in my humility, you know, and in those places that most people wouldn't expect a lesson to come from, that's where I learned so much. And, you know, and so I termed the phrase miseducation, you know, not because it was a miseducation per se, but just because it was sort of contrary to what the world says is education.
So coming up, we have Kesha. With over 10 top 10 singles under her belt, including her famous smash hit, TikTok, which was at one time one of the best-selling singles ever, Kesha is familiar with stardom. However, her prominent lawsuit against her former producer, Dr. Luke, destroyed her bank account. Legal fees are not economical, and there was a time that Kesha allegedly had to accept $250,000 from Taylor Swift just to settle her legal expenses. But Kesha didn't lose her way when it comes to topping the charts. Her self-financed third album rose to #1 on the Billboard 200 charts and was certified gold by the Record Industry Association of America just 4 months after it released. So next up we have 50 Cent. It's hard to know where to start when it comes to this rapper's financial battle. 50 Cent, who never failed to produce stacks of money for his music videos, filed for bankruptcy in 2015, with his debt accounting for over $30 million. 50 Cent financial distress could be attributed to a number of factors. To begin with, he was presumably spending over $100,000 a month on lavish lifestyle expenses. Secondly, he was ruled to pay Listonia Levinston $5 million for illegally leaking a sex tape of her online. And third, they claimed that he also ripped off an ex-business partner, causing a federal judge to order him to pay $17 million to this partner.
Cover those emotions were to be a little more aggressive.
And insensitive.
Yeah, and to be angry about the situation opposed to dealing with how I was actually feeling at that point. And
so here we have David Crosby. David Crosby is as recognizable with rock and roll as the Fender guitar. He caught a break as a member of the Byrds in the 1960s before becoming a sensational superstar as a member of Crosby, Stills and Nash. However, like many of his peers, Crosby became a voracious drug user. In the 1980s, he experienced a downward spiral in his life, and some charges were filed against him. He was arrested for weapons, possession of illegal drugs, driving under the influence, and a hit and run by the mid-1980s. He was addicted not only to alcohol, but also to cocaine and heroin. He later declared that he spent millions on his drug habits, all of which brought on a decline of his record sales. Crosby ultimately filed for bankruptcy and has had issues financially for the years that has passed.
That's the main thing. Try to stay sober and try to find stuff in your life that gives you forward motion, gives you what the French call a raison d'etre, a reason for being.
So here we have T-Pain. In the mid to late 2000s, you couldn't turn on the radio and not hear the distinguished sound of T-Pain's auto-tuned voice. The Florida native was one of the most remarkable names in hip-hop at the time, and even won a couple of Grammys at the peak of his career. Despite his success, T-Pain was not free from making poor financial decisions, many of which cost him a fortune. In a 2019 radio interview, the rapper proclaimed that he went from having $40 million in his bank account to having to borrow just a little bit of money so he could buy his kids Burger King. T-Pain has since rebounded financially and claims that going from mega rich to super broke has taught him the true value of money.
$40 million to zero?
Yeah.
And it was just all bad spending? No bad investments? Like, what was it?
It was a lot of bad investments. A lot of things.
What did you invest in that didn't work for $40 million? What were you invested in?
Real estate.
Real estate?
Yeah.
Shoot.
You buy retail?
No, but I was letting my manager do it, and he was way more optimistic than I was.
So what do you mean optimistic?
He didn't know what
Like
he
he
was
would
doing.
just buy complete dumps and think that we can just paint and then we should be
He didn't
fine.
know what he was doing.
Never sold anything that we bought.
Even now, like none of those areas y'all bought in became
We had to
gentrified.
let him go. We had to let him go. Nah, I mean, we just had to let everything go. So, you know.
Next up, we have TLC. This renowned 90s girl group were the queens of the Billboard charts during the decade. Their hit songs such as Creepin' Waterfalls made them well known and brought them infinite amount of fame, success, and wealth. Sadly, that didn't last very long. From the outsider's perception, TLC was on top of the world, but upon looking closely, it was revealed that their huge medical bills, insurance payments, and unacceptable business deals with their manager and record label had them going flat out broke. One of the members even joked and stated, "We're so broke that we have to borrow money just to go broke." The group filed for bankruptcy in 1995 with their debts amounting to about $3.5 million. Sadly, this story doesn't have a bright ending as the founding member Lisa Left Eye Lopez was involved in a fatal accident in 2002. She died at the age of 30. Coming up next, we have Toni Braxton. One of the most notable R&B singers of all time, Toni Braxton racked up award after award during her career. The Maryland native took home her earliest Grammy in 1994 and her last award in 2015. This is proof of her resilience as an artist. Despite her career soaring high, Braxton also experienced financial troubles like many artists on the list. Braxton's recording contract favored the record studio over her, and she wasn't making enough off of royalties to sustain her luxurious lifestyle. She filed for bankruptcy in 1998 and managed to bounce back in 2000, all because of the success of her third studio album, The Heat. However, Braxton had to file for bankruptcy again in 2010 due to some health concerns that compelled her to cancel her Las Vegas residency. Coming up next, we have rapper Lil' Kim. Rap legend Notorious B.I.G. grew up with her and also dated Lil' Kim and introduced her onto the scene in the mid-1990s. Lil' Kim has also sold more than 15 million albums and is widely considered as one of the most prominent and iconic female rappers in history. However, there's another side to the story. She was also absolutely impulsive with her spending habits, purchasing countless extravagant items that she simply could not afford. Lil' Kim filed for bankruptcy and it was discovered that she owed the government almost $2 million in back taxes and accumulated debts up to $4 million. Who knew that the royalties from her songs such as It's All About the Benjamins wouldn't be able to pay her debt? Now it's time to get to the nitty-gritty of what you really want to see. Next up, we have Marvin Gaye. If this entry proves anything, it's that you could be the most effortlessly cool and proficient soul singer on the planet and yet still fall behind the 8 ball. Marvin Gaye's financial trouble can be traced back to his marital problems. The R&B legend went through an infamous troubled divorce from his first wife, Anna Gordy, in 1975, and quickly fell behind on his alimony charges. Filing for bankruptcy in 1976 and with no money to present, a judge ordered Gaye to pay his wife with royalties from his next album. The album, entitled Here My Dear, did little to improve his situation. Gaye was in such a bad situation that he almost went to prison for all the back taxes that he owed the government.
Hasn't been very good. In fact, the last 7 years of my life haven't been exactly ecstatic for me. I haven't been ecstatic. I've been happy and somewhat, most of the time, pretty depressed. But my depression is, I think, because of my empathy for humanity, and I'm awfully upset when I have to do things to achieve a certain amount of status so that I might be able to do something else so that people will listen to me.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them on your phone. Make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. And finally, last on our list is MC Hammer. The rise and fall of MC Hammer should be a preventative example many artists would be wise to remember. Hammer started in the 80s but truly became a household name in the early 1990s thanks to his album Please Hammer, Don't Hurt Him, which included the chartbuster You Can't Touch This. Suddenly, Hammer had deep pockets and quickly went to town, blowing his $33 million net worth on extravagant stuff. He acquired a mansion and filled it with indulgent items and amenities, had a staff of 200 people on his payroll, mostly his friends and family and community members, which to be fair was a nice thing to do. However, even with all the good deeds, he found himself in multiple lawsuits. When he finally filed for bankruptcy in 1996, he was at least $10 million in debt. The lesson of the story is an easy one. Don't treat your bank account like it's an endless supply of cash.
everybody knew that I had 200 employees. It wasn't no secret. So what you think, I was paying them in hamburgers? So you know somebody was paying that payroll and it wasn't falling. So I was doing that. So if you wanted to now say the story is MC Hammer just pissed his money off when you knew that I was employing 200 people from my community, it said more about you than it did about me. So I didn't go on the radio to defend that.
Do you know of any other musicians that could be added onto our list? If so, add them in the comment section below. Last but not least, be a pal and share this video, and we will be eternally grateful. And who knows, maybe we'll send you a freebie one of these days just for helping us out.